Welcome back to the Gun Collective podcast. My name is John Patton. I know I keep saying this. I keep saying it every single time, but I mean it. We've got another great guest. You guys are going to love this one. It's going to be fun. She's a bit rowdy, but first I got to talk about the sponsors. Of course, you guys know Vertex, vertx.com. Get yourself a bag. There's some of my favorite backpacks out there. I use the Ready Pack every single day. Anytime I travel, I use their luggage. They just came out with a new line of luggage. I believe it's called the Road Less Traveled RLT series. That's super cool. Check it out. Use the code TGC. Get yourself a discount. Also go to Camorado, CAMORADO.com and use the code TGC over there, and you get yourself a discount on some of the coolest new camo out there. It's made by my good friend Sean Heron, and we have a signature pattern called Sea Smoke. It's blue. You can hide in the ocean with it if you want to do that sort of thing. If you're hiding from the fish, I don't know. Go buy it. It's great. TGC is the code at Camorado.com. Now, my guest, this young lady is someone that I don't know very well. However, all the dudes that I trust vouch for her, and that is very important in a sea of gun bunnies and morons. We've got Jerah Hutchins. Jerah, how are you?
Hello. Thank you for that intro.
I appreciate you being here. I think this is a kind of a long time coming. I've heard your name in conversations for many, many years, so it's cool to actually have you here. Can you give us the high level, like 30-second version of what you actually do as a career? Because I think it's difficult to compress.
Well, yeah, there's several facets to it. I like to kind of dip my hand in some different things. I am a corporal in the Texas State Guard. We are a state organization and not federal. So we can't be sent to Fallujah. We can't be sent to Afghanistan. We deal with a lot of things in Texas. We're primarily a humanitarian military organization. So we do a lot of responding to floods, fires. When Snowmageddon happened in Texas, which we were completely not ready for, we got deployed for that. It was very interesting. We do a lot of that. We're on the border. We're doing border mission, Operation Lone Star. Can't really talk much about that from an OPSEC perspective, but I can't know that we're down there.
Come on, give us the intel.
So it's wonderful. It's a wonderful military career. It's a great organization to be a part of. I've been in for almost 4 years. I went in as a 38-year-old private. So that was really, really awesome. And then kind of went up through the ranks, and now I'm a corporal, and I'll be promoted to sergeant probably this year or early next year. So plan on staying in for a long time. I'm also a firearms instructor. I've been doing that for 16 years. I've been shooting for 30 years, so I have a lot of experience in the industry and just in, shooting in and of itself. I've enjoyed it. I came from a family that loved it, and I couldn't have been more blessed to grow up in that environment. So they kind of started us early. I mean, I was 11 the first time that I picked up a gun. I've done a lot of consulting on gun ranges throughout Texas, in their events departments, in their membership, in their training departments, primarily, putting structure to training departments, getting women more involved in this. And then I have Clearing the Chamber, which is my own training company. I'm in 11 states now. So I just kicked off my tour last weekend in Reno, Nevada. We had 3 really great classes in Reno. I did a class called Protect This House, which helps couples figure out, and single people too, if they want to come, but it helps couples, form their family emergency plan, whether that be on the road, home invasion, traveling, what to do with my weapons, any of that kind of stuff. We did intro to handgun with a CPR certification. I think that I love doing mashup classes. I love offering like 2-for-1 things to really get people to like maximize their time with me. And then we also did Preparing What You Wear, and that had a time management component. So I was teaching women how to conceal in different outfits, gear that's out there for them. But I also talk about stuff that's marketed to women that's complete bullshit. So we
there is, like I said, there's a sea of gun bunnies. There's a mountain of just garbage being pushed on women.
Yes. And they'll promote it just because they get paid to. They don't really understand how it works a lot of the time. They're not really testing it out in like real life scenario based training. And I do that. I'm not sponsored by anybody. So I like it that way, to a degree, because now there are some people that have wanted to sponsor me that offer products that I really like.
Sure.
You know, you mentioned Vertex, they've sponsored the Personal Defense Network training tour that I'm a part of. I really love their stuff. I carry the Gambit, bag. I've carried it for years and I love it. People often, like, it's kind of it's almost my signature thing because I don't carry a purse. I just carry that backpack around wherever I go. And so everybody kind of knows where
I've been telling you.
Yeah. And it could be in any outfit. Like I could just be in like yoga pants or workout gear, or I'm showing up in a full blown suit, you know, to a speaking engagement with that backpack. And they kind of know, they know that it's just with me. It's like a package deal. So got to teach that class. And then it had a time management component because I like to teach people that your disorganized life actually correlates to your safety, because you're not putting proper buffers between meetings. Predators are looking for people who are overwhelmed and unorganized and carrying a bunch of things, you know, that when they could have they could have it in a wagon, and they could, you always want to try to have your hands free as often as possible, especially when you're in places that you don't know. So we did some really great classes at Reno Guns and Range. So shout out to that facility because they have a top-notch staff. Mark, their training director, is wonderful. They've got a guy that teaches up there named Daniel, who's fantastic. Debbie owns the joint. It's a woman-owned facility. Her son also owns it with her and helps her run it. And they're very, very involved. So great facility if you're ever in the Reno, Nevada area. And then lastly,
holy shit.
I have a nonprofit called WADE, which is the Women's Awareness and Defense Endeavor. So okay. I will physically go and take women out of domestically violent homes if they ask me to. There is vetting. I'm not just going to, show up at somebody's house just because they said so. We have to have conversations. We have to have, I have to have a little bit of proof, but I put together resources for them.
That's a good way to swat somebody. Just have you show up and take them.
Well, the problem is that we've tied law enforcement's hands with liability over the last, 10 or so years, that a lot of times they won't even respond to these things anymore.
Right.
And but a big part of my program is it's so much more than getting you out. We're helping you love your independent life. We're showing you, honestly, things that you did wrong to get there. Because this isn't just a one-party thing in a relationship.
Listen, here's a list of
here's a list of things that you did wrong, things you believed that you shouldn't believe, actions you took that you shouldn't have taken, provocation that you did. This is not victim blaming. This is showing you how healthy relationships work. And we get them out. I will physically come to your house and get you out. And that bastard that hits you every day will sit on the couch and watch me. I have zero issue with doing this. There are times when I've had to enlist help, and I have. There have been people that I've been dealing with that were straight up fugitives from the law. So then we
fun.
Get police involved, because they want that. They want that felony arrest. So sometimes they'll help when that's the case. And then we help them find jobs. We help them find housing. We help them learn how to protect their children. So we offer them self-defense training after they've had the proper counseling. And so we are on our 122nd WADE woman, and we've only had 2 go back. So
I have a question for you that's relevant to all of this. When do you fucking sleep? Because
it's with WADE, we do get a really large number of requests, but I'm kind of a one-woman show, so I have to be really careful.
Well, I mean, between the training, your job in the guard, and all of these other things that you're dabbling in between, I mean, that's an enormous amount of projects going on all at the same time. I understand it. I just wonder how the hell you get any rest. So what I want to try to understand from your perspective, because you've been around the gun industry for quite a while. One of the things I keep seeing is products that people just try to shove onto women what do you think of, like, have we gotten better? Have we gotten worse with that sort of thing? I mean, the more and more people sort of evolve in this industry, the more I'm seeing quote unquote women focused products. What do you think of that?
I think that we've gotten worse in.
Okay.
I do. I think we've gotten worse. And now look, I think that we've gotten better as far as respecting women in the industry, and legitimizing good women, knowledgeable women in the industry. I think women have gotten better. Some of them have gotten better in legitimizing themselves. What we can do as women in the industry is get upset about, and this used to make me upset too, but we can't get upset about being asked to prove ourselves. I've been asked so many times. There have been people who have commented on things that I put out on social media and went, yeah, well, you say that, but can you shoot? And I'm like, and that used to piss me off. But then I was like, you know what? It's a relevant question. I mean, why would you want to follow somebody, and why would you want to take the advice of someone who hasn't really proven that they can do what they're preaching about? And so
question.
And it's a fair question. And so now I relish the opportunity to prove the skill set that I can do. But this whole self-defense game and this whole gun game, it's so much more than just knowing how to shoot a gun. It's knowing when to shoot a gun. It's understanding the laws that surround it so that you can fight the ones that aren't relevant, the ones that don't need to be there, and so that you can understand the ones that make sense, like murder. We need to understand.
Sure, but what like, how does that play into the women-focused products?
It plays into it because women aren't paying attention to these things as much as men are.
I see what you're saying.
Okay. So they're, our lives we're just different than men. And I get that, right? Like people like me, women like me are a little bit rare. And I'm not saying that as a good or bad thing. I'm just saying that I'm in this, like I'm reading about it all the time. I'm testing out equipment. I love that, I'm honored to be trusted, that certain companies like will allow me to beta test their stuff.
Sure.
And kind of give them the feedback. Like I love being somebody that's trusted like that. But women, we've gotten worse in marketing things to women because women aren't paying attention. And there are a lot of women that are gullible, and there are women that will have a false sense of security in certain things that are put out on the market. I'll give you some examples.
I was just about to ask, can you lay some on it?
There's something on the market called a birdie.
What the hell's that?
It goes on your keychain. It's a button. You push it and it makes this really loud noise. And they're marketing it as a self-defense tool for women. And I'm like, did we not learn this lesson when the panic button on our key fob for our cars became a vehicle location tool instead of a thing that was alerting somebody that someone was breaking into our car, that we needed help? Like, these things don't work. And people are more likely to film you getting your ass kicked in the street than to actually run up and help you. So we have to be our own. And this is what my shirt says, is it says, be your own first responder. Like, you have to learn how to do this for yourself. And it's an unfortunate thing that women have had to kind of evolve into being more responsible for their personal safety. But I think that there are facets of women that have brought this upon themselves. Feminism is so toxic right now. It's not even remotely what it was meant to be in the beginning, and what, the Susan B. Anthony's, and frankly, the Harry,
this sort of like hatred for men as opposed to celebration of women. It's the opposite.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it's become. And this whole self-defense game was always meant to be a team effort wherein two people would come together, a man and a woman, and they would have their own strengths in the relationship. Men are, protectors and providers, and women are nurturers and supporters. That doesn't mean you can't have a job. That doesn't mean you can't own a business. It just means that there's, certain things that you have to work within your strengths in a relationship. I've learned this the hard way. I was a toxic feminist in my 20s, and I learned really quick. I wouldn't say I even learned really quickly. It took me 10 damn years, to figure out that men are not the enemy. Only some men are the enemy. And so we've got to be able to, figure that out and learn who's on our side and who's not on our side. And men have had to learn this the hard way too. So, the birdie, getting back to the, what we're talking about as far as products, the birdie is not where we want to be, okay? Because that's not going to do anything for you in a true situation of duress. And one of the things that I really like to tell my students, and I like to teach my students, is the value of time. You need to understand how much time you have, from the time you make the 911 call and how long they're going to take to get there, to can you fight? How long is it going to take you to get your gun out of wherever the hell you have it, and or whatever weapon you choose. It doesn't have to be a gun. We all have choices here, but women have to understand the dire and dangerous thing that they are going to be faced with when, you know, somebody means to rape you, or somebody means to abduct you and sell you into a sex trafficking ring. When you're a mom, listen, the truth of the matter is that the burden on physical protection of children is way, way more on the moms than it is on the dads, because the moms women in general spend more time with children than men do. It doesn't mean that men aren't important to this. It doesn't mean that they are not the people who can do it the best. It just means that women have to understand that in order to prepare yourself to be a mom, to be a protector of children, you have to go and learn how to do hard things. And the birdie isn't going to freaking help you. You have to have a physical weapon. You have to understand that only force stops force. And you have to be willing to put yourself in that kind of training and be humbled, because the whole mama bear water cooler talk shit doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. Okay, so the birdie is a pile of shit. What other kind of things are being marketed that you're like, absolutely not? Give me like 3 of them.
Yeah. Pepper spray, get rid of it. Get rid of pepper spray. It better be gel, and it better have density and trajectory. There's a really new product on the market that I'm really loving called Carry Impact.
Okay.
It's a pepper stream. So it comes out almost like bear spray, or or wasp spray. So it's got like a really heavy stream, and it doesn't have any cross contamination. It's got
what do you mean by that? No cross contamination? Like it doesn't blow back in your face?
Yeah, it doesn't blow back in your face, number one. But if the assailant is still coming at you and touching you, it's not going to affect you.
How's that possible?
The aminos that they use are very specific and very proprietary. It's amazing science. Like they did this they tested this on people in front of actual doctors and pulmonologists. There's no respiratory problems that come with it. It's a really, really interesting new product on the market. And it was invented and worked on by people who were in law enforcement, who said, why do we even have this pepper spray on our belts? Because we're never going to use it. Because they knew the cross-contamination was a problem. They knew that they would be held liable if someone they sprayed with it had respiratory problems, because once again, we've tied our law enforcement's hands with liability. There's also a UV marker that's on it, where if you have a description of the person who attacked you and you spray them with it and they find that person, they can shine the light on their face and know that that was the person that attacked you. So
what was that called again?
It's called Carry Impact.
Carry Impact. Okay, so
carryimpact.com.
Get rid of the pepper spray. And what other kind of things are people being pitched?
Well, and
I see a lot of it, but I don't know. I don't know enough to know.
Exactly. But I also like Carry Impact for teens. People who can't carry a lethal weapon yet. I love it. I love it for that.
Oh, I see.
There's another thing that came out on the market. So these shockers, these sort of taser, almost shock thing that you can carry in your hand, or these rings that have shocking ability.
Yeah.
These are marketed toward women. These things suck in their bullshit too, because you have to be in very close quarters for them to even be effective. And you don't want that. You want to be able to be situationally aware enough and be able to analyze the situation well enough, because you've been trained to do that, to understand that distance is insurance. And so you don't want to be that close to somebody who's trying to attack you. And then you don't want to have to depend on the batteries, not working in this thing anymore, or you even remembering to change the batteries. Like, these are all things that they take up too much time, and they take up too much brain space, and it's just a huge false sense of security. Another product that I really like that's on the market right now is the Berna.
I've seen that. It's like a pepper ball launcher.
Yeah, there's things that I don't like about it. I don't like that I only have 5 in the magazine. I don't like that it doesn't have a gauge on the, the frame of the gun that tells me how low my CO2 cartridge is. But what I do like is that it's very effective. I've tested it out. I have one, and the only time that I carry it is in super populated areas that I can't have my real gun at. Right. So legally, yeah. Yeah. Because I also, super populated areas present a problem even with people who are good shooters, because you're not sure. What if you don't make the shot and you hit someone else? This is a problem. But the Byrna, solves that problem to a degree, not fully, but to a degree. So we as women have to be very careful, and we have to have a lot of discernment, and we have to make sure that we have sounding boards on these bullshit items that are being marketed to us all the time.
So I've seen this sort of retraction, I guess, of what used to be like this flood of pink and Tiffany blue and purple guns. Do you think we're past that as an industry?
No, I don't think that we're past that. Listen, I'm not going to shit on it.
Hey, because listen, feel free. I shit on everything. It's fine.
I'm not going to shit on it because if that's what it takes to get women more interested in it, I'm okay with that, because changing the color of the gun doesn't necessarily change the effectiveness of the gun. Fair. Now, it's not something that I partake in just because, but I'm just different, right? I'm not like really a color. Yeah, I'm not a color person. And frankly, I don't get into all that pink camo shit either, because I'm not hunting flamingos. Like, I'm actually out hunting real shit, that I'm going to eat. And, I don't want to be seen in the woods because I'm wearing the hot pink shit. But if that's something that women are wearing as like a badge that says, hey, I want to be fashionable, but I also want to be protected. I want to be able to protect myself. I don't care. Like,
I'll be honest with you. I think that pink, like mossy oak camo is basically like, I like outdoors and I like meth. That's like the uniform for that type of person.
Yeah. And listen, we're all entitled to our opinions on that. And even though I don't participate in it, doesn't mean that I don't think that it's a marketing tool to get women more involved. And I have zero issue with that. So
where are you seeing things that are like big wins? Like I've seen the PDP-F, that was marketed towards females. The Rose stuff from SIG, that was pushed heavily towards females. Are those good things? I mean, where do you stand on this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're bad things at all. But I think that the marketing tool, if we're going to market the rose gold gun, if we're going to market the Tiffany blue, the pink, the purple, all this, it has to be followed up with quality education from trainers who are freedom first. One of the things—
what do you mean by freedom first?
Well, and I'll tell you, because one of the things that we ran into in Texas, or that I specifically ran into in Texas, was we had the opportunity, after many, instances of it hitting the legislature, to actually get constitutional carry in Texas. And I came out, I've been a licensed carry instructor for 7 years. And when we had the opportunity to do that, I was all for it. There were publications that quoted me saying that I was for it, and that I think that we needed to bring that, we needed that in Texas. And a ton of gun instructors and LTC instructors hit my social media, hit me up personally, hit my email up, and said that I didn't care about my community because I didn't think that training should be mandatory. And I think that we forgot, and I think that these men, especially who came down on me, forgot that freedom was the reason we got into the game in the first place. And if there was going to be a law that was passed, and we were going to capitalize on that law, by holding classes that were legal and mandatory, we did that because we should have been doing it because we were following the law and we wanted to get good education out for people. But if we had a chance to get a piece of our freedom back, we should have been completely for that. And the people who attacked me were people who were afraid, who were financially, had codependent on this class, and they forgot that freedom was the reason that they got in the game, and they couldn't pivot their own businesses because they were limited.
It's so the dickhead NRA instructors that are out there going, hey, we need training. Here's my card. You know, like they're trying to make money off of that shit. And meanwhile, people forget that the Second Amendment doesn't actually have a training requirement.
They don't. Well, but people also forget, or they try to twist the meaning of a well-regulated militia. A well-regulated militia does not mean that there are a lot of laws surrounding our ability to have firearms and weapons. A well-regulated militia, the way that they would speak in those times, meant a well-trained militia, meaning you took time out of your day to make sure that you were proficient and safe and efficient and accurate with your weapon. It didn't mean that the government had all of these, abilities to, put mandates on us and put laws that didn't make sense on us. And that's not what it means at all. It means a well-trained militia. So it means that society has an obligation, without having a bunch of laws attached to it, to make time to train with guns, make sure you're safe with guns. You have a responsibility to store your weapons safely and away from people who don't need to have access to them. And you should be training monthly. You should be a crack shot. You should be prepared, and you should not take any of these mandates from politicians that are telling you that we need common sense gun laws. You should be fighting that stuff, because freedom is the name of the game. And my business didn't suffer one iota after constitutional carry was brought back to the state of Texas.
Funny how that works.
Right.
It's funny how that works.
As a matter of fact, in the states that do have constitutional carry, you would see on average a 20% uptick in people getting their license, because it wasn't mandatory anymore and they wanted to get it. So it's us as instructors, us as gun owners, us as pro-Second Amendment people to encourage society and educate society on why this is important, and not mandate it through legislation.
I totally agree. I think we have created this. There's like almost two factions, right? Where the people think, at least on the topic of training, there's people that think that it has to be mandatory and you have to do it and it should be part of the law. And then there's people that go, well, you should just want to be good with the thing that could save your life. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think that we are obligated as people, as good people, to protect other people who can't, or who have limitations, or who aren't educated on this yet. It's something that it's a conversation that we need to renormalize, because it used to be normal. It used to be normal to teach your kids how to shoot a gun. And now we have politicians that are trying to put bills out into legislation that would criminalize parents for teaching their kids this valuable skill. It's normal. Frankly, I'm just going to say it. We need to normalize having legitimate, intelligent, and responsible conversations on when it is appropriate to shoot someone. We've vilified it so much that we can't even talk about it when it makes sense to talk about it. And it's something that, frankly, our daughters need to know about more than anybody. Our daughters need to understand that they are not always going to be under the wing of their parents' protection. Some of our daughters don't even have the wing of their parents' protection, because their parents aren't educated in this. So they're literally going out into the world with nothing. So I offer a college safety course that I'm going to launch across the country in 2025 to teach these young women, these teenage women, listen, this is a preparedness tactic that you need in order to go out into the world and be independent on your own. Okay. You've graduated high school, or you're about to, you've learned how to drive. Hopefully somebody's taught you about money. If not, I'll teach you about that too. You need to understand that there are more facets to life than you just trying to find someone to marry, and buy a house and, do all these things that are considered normal. Okay. There are no safe places. There are only safe people. And you need to understand how to determine who is safe and who is not, how to trust your gut, and how to use weapons, because for a time, it's just going to be you. So that's another thing that WADE does. The Women's Awareness and Defense Endeavor also offers free self-defense and firearms and weapons training, whether they be lethal weapons or non-lethal weapons, to single, low-income women and single mothers.
Good God. What would you say is the most difficult thing that you deal with on a regular basis within the sphere of the gun industry, the training industry, et cetera?
I think that the most dangerous thing that we have in the gun industry right now are instructors.
What is it? What do you mean by that?
Who, I put it in quotes because they're not really instructors. Are instructors who are putting out training that doesn't make sense, that isn't true, and that gives people a false sense of what they can actually physically accomplish.
So you're saying the thing that is the most difficult for you is what other people are putting out.
That is true. That is accurate. Yes.
Okay.
Because people will come to me and they'll say, well, I took this class, that said I could do X, Y, and Z. And I say, well, did you physically act that out to understand the value of time? Do you have a sub 1 second draw? Where do you carry your gun?
Sure.
Like I have a class called the What If Scenarios where we use airsoft pistols and we actually shoot each other. And I show women the absolute horror of carrying in your purse. And not one time, I've had thousands of students take, I have over 10,000 students under my belt. And so I've had thousands of students take this class, and never one time in the hundreds of classes, the hundreds of What If classes I put on, has someone ever been able to get their gun out of their purse, pulled, drawn, trigger squeeze before I killed them with my own weapon. So
I see what you're saying.
We're marketing, that's another thing that's marketed to women is these dumbass concealed carry purses. Now I'm not saying don't get one and don't have one. I've had to carry in my purse before because of the way that I was dressed. Like I was going to a cocktail, like there wasn't no hiding it in what I was wearing. Okay. And so it's in those times that I think that purse carry is okay. But you also have to make sure that you remember that your situational awareness has to be on point. And when you're traveling, there's a way that you can have kind of prepare yourself to pull that gun. But, in everyday life, it's just a bad idea, to depend on that as your main focus of carry. So that's the one thing that I think is the worst thing in our industry is people who are pretending to be instructors that really aren't. You've taken one NRA class. Like, what could you possibly know at this point? And I didn't do that. I went and I apprenticed under people who frankly thought it was frustrating to teach me. I was a woman. I was slower. I was weaker. And I'm like, I need you to make me better. Okay. So I did that before I ever taught a single group class. Now I was teaching one-on-one lessons because I was really good at teaching the fundamentals of grip, stance, sight picture, trigger pull, range etiquette, marksmanship. I was good at that. So I was doing one-on-one lessons, but I wasn't teaching anything outside of that because I wasn't ready yet. So you have to have a lot of really good self-reflection to go, am I a group instructor? Can I actually teach this? And am I giving people the best information possible? I think that's the worst thing in our industry right now.
In what way are you having to overcome that? Is it just in the classroom scenario? Like, what are you doing to transcend all that? Are you putting out a lot of content about this? Like, how do we correct this course? If this is so dangerous, as you put it, then how do we correct course and sort of right the ship when it comes to educating women?
Well, the thing that I probably need to do better is probably create more content around this. I freaking suck at marketing myself. I'm not that good at it. And I think it's because I think there was a time years ago when I didn't want to be doing things like this. I just wanted to doing podcasts and kind of putting myself out there and my opinions out there. Like I just wanted to teach people how to shoot guns. That's all I wanted to do. And I'd never testified in anything. I'd never been on any major news networks. I'd never done anything like that. And then a woman named Rachel Malone, who was with Gun Owners of America, said, hey, there's a gun rights hearing coming up and I really want you to, testify. And I didn't want to do it. And she just hounded me. And I was like, fine, I'll do it. And she gave me a crash course in testifying. And I went to Brookhaven College, and I was the next to last group of people to testify. And the more that I listened to the people who were representing the rights that were most important to me, the more pissed off I got, because they couldn't articulate it correctly. It was the same shtick over and over again: shall not be infringed, shall not be infringed. Eventually that's going to fall on deaf ears and people aren't going to care about it anymore. You have to find another way to do this. And so I didn't even write my testimony until like 15 minutes before I was set to go up, because I wanted to hear what everybody else had to say. And so how do we course correct it? I have to be, not just me, but everybody has to be better about getting this content out there. But moreover, that's one of the reasons why I wrote that class, the What If Scenarios, because nobody's ever going to understand that the information they got from some loser who took one, NRA class and thinks that they're an instructor, they're never going to know that they got bad information until they physically feel that they got bad information. So you have to say, well, what did this instructor tell you that you could do? And, this instructor told me that, that as long as my, gun has a trigger guard over it and I'm carrying it in my purse, that I'm safe. And as long as I try to see something coming, in enough time, I can draw this really quickly because it has its own dedicated pocket, and I can even shoot through the purse if I need to. Really? Well, how many shots do you think that you might get off shooting through your purse if you have a semi-automatic there? Because that slide moves backwards and forwards, and the chances of the fabric of your purse getting caught in the ejector port are really pretty high. So did your instructor tell you that maybe a hammerless revolver would be better for that? No, they never told me that at all. Do you see what I'm saying? So there's so much more to it than just, I'm going to buy a gun and put it in a purse and carry it on my body, and all of a sudden I'm 50 times safer than I was before. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do. I have been fortunate to have had some instruction from some of the best, much like you. And I see those things, I hear those things, and I'm like, I can't believe that's still fucking happening. I can't believe that there are still people perpetuating those myths. However, I was at a gun show with the girl that I'm dating, and the guy, we went over and saw like a little 410 pump action shotgun, and this guy just he starts immediately, didn't ask anything about her skill level, nothing, and just immediately started barking how to handle a home defense shotgun to this woman. And I found it hilarious that we haven't sort of shaken the FUDs off the tree yet. We haven't gotten rid of them. And I don't know the right way to do it. And I don't know if it'll happen just through them dying, or if, people like me will become the next generation of FUDs. I don't know. I would like to hope not. But
yeah, I think I think the fairest way to do it is, if you're going to ask, if you're going to question someone's skill set, you should question everyone's skill set. I've run into situations at gun ranges where, I've been interrogated about, what I know, but the guy in front of me who had a lot less experience than me, but because he was tall and big and had tattoos, they just assumed that he knew what he was doing. I've run into that before. It doesn't happen a lot now. I think that we've evolved better, but Pat, do you know who Pat Green is?
I'm not familiar.
He's a famous country music singer.
That would be why I'm not familiar.
Yeah. He's a famous country music singer, and we were at a fundraiser that I was helping out with, and there were some guns that were being raffled off, and that he did that to me. I'm going up to grab this gun to move it from the stage to backstage, and he goes, "Oh, hey," he's like, sweetheart, do you know how to handle that?" And I'm like, "Bro, listen, I could probably teach you a thing or two. Okay. So let's just not even go there." So but he had no idea. Right. So now I wasn't pissed off or embarrassed. I was just like, okay, I don't look like somebody that probably handles guns, every day. But that's the thing, that's the barrier that we need to break, is we need to make it to where everybody is so familiar with self-defense and handling guns that there's not even a person who looks like it anymore. Everybody just knows how to do it. And so, I suck at marketing myself. I'm not willing to take pictures in a bikini with a gun. I'm not willing to do that kind of marketing. So the growth of my platform is much lower. It's much longer. It takes longer for me to reach people. And I'm okay with that, because I want to make sure that my integrity stays intact. But
yeah, we'll leave the bikini pictures for Kevin Dixie.
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah. Or Tony Simon. Tony Simon.
Tony.
And yeah, he can
Oh,
do
that would be glorious.
He is pound for pound the biggest gun buddy there is. So.
I really wish, I love Tony, but I really wish he would get off of that shtick because he's so much more than that as a person. Like he puts himself in this box of like, I'm this fat guy. Like, Tony, come on, man. You're more than that. You don't have to do that to yourself.
Yeah. Well, and another thing that we need to be doing, you know, as an industry is when we have panels of when we have discussion, you know, we need
I know
to have
a thing or two about those.
Yeah, we need to have more women on these panels and in this discussion,
sure.
But we need to vet them first. We need to ask them. So just because you have 150,000 followers, you know, does it mean that you can speak to this in a way that's going to speak to people?
So I'm gonna share something with you.
Yeah, you may get up there and you're going to sound like a total dumbass because you're not paying attention to nomenclature. You're not really educated in this. You just run around in your bikini and shoot guns, right? This happened at SHOT Show a few years ago. In 2020, there was, you know, and I'm not going to be nasty to her because I don't even know her and I don't even remember her name, frankly, but she was on a panel that Mosh Trey was putting on and she was the only woman on the panel and she didn't say shit. Like she was so nervous about being up there, even though she was chosen to represent women in this space, but she didn't say nothing, you know? And so if it's me, like if you're going to give me the mic, I'm going to talk and I'm going to say things that hopefully, you know, reach you and that you hear and that makes sense and that will like motivate you to do better. But we really need more women in this space that can articulate this and get people motivated and get people inspired and on board to make this part of their life.
Okay. Are you willing to share who that was? Because I have no fucking clue.
I don't know who it was either. That's the thing. Oh, okay. And that's part of the reason why it made me so mad is because I'm like, now you're so immemorable. Like nobody's going to remember you.
Well, let's be fair. Maj is a great guy, but being aware of who else is in the industry is not his forte. It's not. That's not what he does. I think when it comes to panels, I will speak to my experience. This year, I reached out to 4 or 5 what I would consider higher profile, what I refer to as good women in the industry, women that appear to represent the culture in a positive way and represent the type of women that I know. And I don't know the exact count, but several of them either ghosted me, said no, or just flat out never responded. Like one of them said, "Oh yeah, I'll be there." Well, I would say like 4 or 5 of them did this. They say, "Oh yeah, I'll be there," and then they don't fucking show up, and then they wonder why women don't get represented. You got to fucking show up. And it's really, really frustrating because I hear you and I agree with you. And I think, you know, when I see things like a women's specific panel, I think it is absolute pandering bullshit. And I hate it because I don't think women should get special treatment because if we are all on the same team, they deserve to be right on the panel, right with the dudes. There shouldn't be this women specific because there's not a dude specific. I think that's horse shit.
Well, it's okay. I'll counter that by saying that, you know, almost all panels up until a few years ago that I saw were all men anyway. Right. So
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's not necessarily true. And I'm going to push back on that a little bit, but I do agree that, you know, if you want to be represented, you need to show up. And that's one of the things that, frankly, I was called to the carpet on this year. I'm a very busy instructor. I'm teaching. I teach all the time. Okay. Right. I'm literally my schedule. I mean, I'm 3 months booked, you know, at any given time. And that's one-on-one lessons. That's group classes. That's everything, you know? And then I turned around and expanded into different states. So we got to see what 2025 looks like. And I may need to even hire some additional instructors to help me out. But that's not an excuse. Like I need to make more time to show up to things like GunCon and SHOT Show. And I haven't done that. And frankly, honestly, part of the reason that I didn't do it is because I didn't think that anybody gave a shit about my opinion. I was kind of, you know, I'm not somebody who a lot of people are. I mean, I have maybe like 11,000 followers on Instagram. If you want to know that the most engaging platform and my biggest platform that I'm on is LinkedIn, if you can believe that.
I believe it.
And so but I'm also like, I don't know how to, do this thing where, because I don't really give a shit. I'm not really care about the likes, and I don't really care about the follows. And I hate people called followers, that are following. I don't like that. Okay. Because I don't feel like, I'm some like elevated person, in the world. I'm just paying attention to what's going on. And I'm transforming that information into relevant education for people. And that's the only thing that I want to do. But I also have figured out, and this is not to sound vain, it's just true, because when I did, especially in 2021 and 2022, when I was testifying and when I was doing panels and when I was doing those things a little bit more than I have been before, I did realize that we don't have good representation. We don't have a lot of good representation. There are some good people and good women that speak well. Jill
Agreed.
McDaniel is really good. I follow her stuff. I think Ava Flanell.
Jill is Mom at Arms, correct?
Yes, Mom at Arms. Yes, she does good things. I think Ava Flanell is really trying to do good things in Colorado. God bless her. And she really, really was, participating heavily in a lot of their legislative actions that was happening. Alicia Garcia, the Boomstick Babe, is very outspoken on a lot of things. She puts out a lot of content, and these are just things that I don't know how to do. So I need help. Like, I need help doing it, but I don't need help knowing what I do.
I'll give you the easy way to do it. Turn your fucking camera on and start talking.
Right.
It's not like, you don't have to, it can be as easy or as difficult as you want. You don't have to have the gun wall behind you. You don't have to have all these things to make an impact, because look at how many sort of lower quality videos are in the top of your feed all the time on social media. It's about what's being said. And if you continue to say what you're saying here on, breaking it up into little bite-sized pieces, I think you do really well. It's just a matter of actually taking the time to do it.
That's absolutely, but I can't let that I can't let that overshadow me physically being present to train people, because I think that the education that I bring to the space is very important. Yeah.
Like grab a student and like, it doesn't even have to be during a class. It could be anything. I mean, you could just do it in your house. There are ways to do it. It's just a matter of you finding and dedicating the time to doing it.
And I think that you're very right. I think you're very right. And moreover, I think that we have to start creating more good instructors in the industry, whether they be female or male. I don't care. I mean, the one thing that I tell my female students is, I can't walk with you through this whole journey. You're eventually going to have to train with a guy. You're not going to get the real world experience that you need if you don't. I've trained with a lot of really good men, and I've trained with Barrett Kendrick and Derek Poole and Rob Pincus, and, Tom Gibbons is on my list, to take some classes from this next year. There's some amazing instructors that I've taken classes, through and with, and, we need to start taking people who are really good at saying the words and making them make sense to people. And we need to turn them into high-level elite instructors, whether they be male or female. But we do need more female instructors in the space. We do need more females that are a voice in this industry, that are able to talk to and correct ridiculous politicians who are using their platform to lie about how guns work, and to lie about the different platforms and what they're capable of, and to correct those people, because they need to be educated too.
I think one of the things that the training sector of the gun industry struggles with is making it fun, making it interesting, because any comment section, oh, you should be training, stop spending so much money on guns and go train. You could do that, but it's fucking boring and it's hard. And the trainers at large have done a piss poor job of making it interesting. And besides, because it draws in a certain level of enthusiast, right? And you might do a couple classes, but going from enthusiast to true proficiency is rare in from what I've seen. I mean, myself included, by the way. I'm not shitting on anybody. Like I know I have these gaps to fill in my training, and I think it's largely because I'm like, it doesn't really sound like a fun use of my time. How do we change that?
Oh man, we have a lot of fun in my classes. We have a ton of fun in my classes.
Right, but it's not about in the class. It's
Yeah.
about the perception thereof. It's about the perception getting people to the classes. Because of course, once you're there, once you're shooting, that's fun. But this, like, I don't know what to call it. It's like this overbearing shit that trainers love to do. Why is that happening? I don't know why they just did the fireworks.
It does it to me too. I think it picks up hand movements or like, things that you're doing. Yeah.
And I know the thumbs up thing works. Anyway, I find that there are challenges bridging the gap between selling it and actually getting people in the classes. Mm-hmm. What do you see as ways to get more people training?
So I think that we, one of the things that I do is I network a lot. Like I go to a lot of networking events. I meet random people. And when you say that you're a gun instructor, especially if you're a female, you're going to dominate the conversation.
Sure. People
are going to have questions about that. They're going to want to know about that. Men get very excited because they're like, oh my God, I need to get my wife to you. But women that are at these events get excited because they're meeting you, they're understanding you, they're knowing you. And I think that's a big deal too, is getting yourself, not just on your social media content, because that's a filtered version of you. Like you're trying to give your best, online. And I think that when people actually get to know you, like one-on-one or in a group setting, and they hear you speak and they can actually ask you questions, because a lot of times when you're putting out videos that have already been pre-made, like people can't ask you questions and get an answer immediately, sure. And so I think that one of the things that works well for me, and one of the reasons why my classes fill up so much, especially here in Texas, is because people know me and they know what I'm about. They've seen me stand up for things at city council meetings, and they've seen me call, politicians to the carpet and not give a shit. And I don't, and I will. And so I think that they understand that, like, this is I am here for you. I am your personal gun instructor. I'm here for your questions. I'll answer, your emails when you ask me questions. Like, I think that that's the bigger deal, is we need to get more out into our communities and concentrating a little bit less, not a lot less, but a little bit less on social media content, because I get that that's how people make money. They can monetize their channels. They're getting a lot of traction and a lot of engagement, and I get that. But like engaging with actual people one-on-one, or like in a group setting where you're physically there, I think is so much more valuable.
I don't disagree. I think one-on-one conversations will lead us forward in all aspects of the Second Amendment community. Building those relationships. I mean, that's how I built my business. So
yeah,
that I
even go to Democratic events and talk to people.
That's a bold strategy.
And I'm not even going to I do it. I really do it.
I don't doubt it. It's just that's okay.
No, I do. And it's not, and I don't want to stand up and like interrupt their program and, be that person, but I am walking around and talking to people and going, hey, I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent more than anything. But I'm not a Democrat, but I am a gun person. And so I need to know why you hate guns so much. Like, I want to talk about that. And I'm not changing minds same day, but I am planting seeds. And I have had some of those people, I wouldn't say in large droves, but I have had some of those people come and take lessons from me, because I gave them my information and I said, if you really want to know about this, right? And so there are a lot of Democrats
doing the hard work right there.
Yeah, and I love it. I mean, after the Pulse nightclub shooting, I was infiltrated by people from the LGBTQ community that wanted to take lessons, because they figured out very quickly that the anti-gun legislation doesn't work, right? But they have to vote Democrat to get the other things that they want. So that's why I wish that the independent party would get more traction, because I think that if you love 1A and 2A, which everybody should, and you don't have a 1A without a 2A, I think that we have to tell people, like, stop voting. You have to vote for that first. Like, we need a candidate who's pro 1A and vehemently pro 2A. That's what we need. And Trump is not vehemently 2A. He doesn't know about that. Now, I think he's getting a lot better information from his son, who is pro 2A, right? Like, I'm hoping that that's starting to connect, because we need a president that is pro 2A. Reagan wasn't even that pro 2A. I know he gets put up on a pedestal.
His track record is not great.
No, not in the gun space, but as being a good president, sure. But like in the 2A space, we haven't had a good president that's pro 2A. In a very long time. And we need to get back to that, because it's the most, in my opinion, it's the most important amendment that we have. It's the most precious right that we have, because every other right that you have, it's on a piece of paper. It doesn't matter unless the will of the people are there to protect it. And we need to get that moving again, for sure.
Okay. We are running short on time. Tell me about this tour. Where are you going? How do people find out about it?
Yeah, I kicked it off last weekend in Reno, like I said earlier in the podcast. So I'm taking it across the country later this year, and in 2025, I'll be in Atlanta, Georgia with Kevin Dixie. I'm going to be in Maryland. I'm going to be in Florida.
Where in Maryland?
There is a couple of different ranges that we haven't solidified yet, but okay. All this is going to be on my website at clearingthechamber.com. You can find me on all the social medias at Clearing the Chamber. You can find me on LinkedIn under my actual name, Jerah Hutchins, but I do have a Clearing the Chamber page on LinkedIn. I'm on the TikTok. I'm on all the things. I'm on the Rumble. I need to work on my Rumble channel a little bit more,
maybe not.
Or maybe not, according to you. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But I'm going to be in a ton of different states, Minnesota, Oklahoma, right here in Texas as well. So like my thing, what I hope that you'll do is check out my website and start following me on social media, because I'm going to start talking about this tour. We're going to bring it to, I'm probably going to go to Maj's place and teach at the Solutionary Center in Philly. I really feel like, I've relegated myself to a single state, and I really think that I have a lot of really good information to give people, and I want to get it out there for them. So clearingthechamber.com is where you need to be.
Hell yeah. That's clearingthechamber.com. Also, I think it's important that you guys check out camerado.com, use the code TGC, go to vertex.com, use that code TGC, go buy some shit, support the sponsors because they support this show. Jerah, thank you so much for the education, the time. I really do appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to say before we roll?
No, absolutely. This was my pleasure. I hope that we can reach more people. And you know what? If you're in the space, and if you're an educator in the space, and you really want to preserve the Second Amendment, you got to get out of your echo chamber, and you got to start going, and you got to start talking to people that don't believe like you.
I really do appreciate it. As always, guys, thank you all for listening, watching, whatever else you can do these days on your cell phone, on your computer, on your TV. We'll see you soon.